The Obama administration and some of my colleagues in Congress have substituted wishful thinking for sound national security strategy.
Yeah, it was Lindsey Graham not too long ago, earlier today, talking about how America has made some dangerous mistakes in recent years, shortly after announcing that he'd been running for president. Senator Graham criticized the president and some of his colleagues in the Senate. I think you may have been talking about Rand Paul.
Just maybe a little bit.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's right. He says all you've got to do is look at the headlines, making news to see that radical Islam is running wild. And joining us now to talk more about today's announcement is our very own J.D. Hayworth, host of Newsmax Prime. Always good to have you.
It is good to be here. And so Lindsey Graham becomes another United States Senator. Whenever I see this, I think back to my 5th grade social studies teacher, the late, great Sarah McCallum, who said that the U.S. Senate was called the world's most exclusive club, only 100 members, and a lot of them afflicted with presidential itis at times when it's totally unrealistic. For example,
is it totally unrealistic for Lindsey? It doesn't have a shot.
Look, like 1972, Indiana Democrat Vance Hartke. You guys go, who? Or perhaps more recently, Utah Senator Orrin Hatch. And Lindsey Graham, for all the tough talk about foreign policy, memo to Senator Graham and other open borders advocates. Doesn't it make sense to understand that border security is national security? It's kind of interesting that Senator Graham's a member of the Gang of Eight, and they all stepped through to clear out the borders, forgetting that basic tenet of national security.
Now, we talked to Ford O'Connell last week about this. If you know, sometimes you wonder, like you were saying, if people just, they know deep down inside, like, I don't have a chance of being the president of the United States.
Well, there's almost no
but maybe
downside to running for president nowadays.
Right, that's
what his point was.
Well, the thing is, what this does is in South Carolina, where there's a huge streak of populist gut bucket conservatism, there is also an establishment wing. And Lindsey's candidacy, in the old days when you had brokered conventions and you'd have a favorite son, that's really what Lindsey is doing, but it probably is offered in a way to give Lindsey and his senior partner in most of this, Arizona's John McCain, some weight with the Jeb Bush crowd as things move along. Because, as we know, Governor Bush has reached out to Senator McCain saying, how do you basically stick your thumb in the eye of conservatives and still win the Republican nomination? Of course, you have to remember, McCain may have come from behind to win the nomination, but he sure as heck didn't win the presidential election in 2008.
You'd have to expect an endorsement from John McCain for Lindsey Graham, but we won't hold our breath quite yet.
No, he will. He's all in for Lindsey.
All right, we'll see.
And so he's got that's 2 of them.
Let's talk about another contender. Let's talk about Dr. Ben Carson as a candidate. The new Des Moines Register poll shows Carson gets 10% of the vote, but also he leads all candidates among women who plan to go to caucuses. But as you can see, Scott Walker has 17%. What does this mean, if anything?
Well, again, understand Iowa is next door to Wisconsin.
Right, so no big surprise,
for
right? For
Ben Carson to be a political newcomer and to have that kind of support is really why you can see so many of the professional politicians talking him down. Tonight on Newsmax Prime, we'll go more in depth as we will talk with John Funn to get his thoughts on the Carson candidacy. But the fact that so many women like Ben Carson, and because typically, there are those of us who went into politics, perhaps I exhibited it a little bit earlier, where you're really very assertive. Dr. Carson comes along, very soft-spoken, very thoughtful, but there is not a doubt as to his sincerity and sense of purpose. And when it comes to handling pressure, as he said in our exclusive interview just before he announced his candidacy, he said, people talk about pressure. Yeah. Hey, when you have someone's life in your hands as a brain surgeon, that's pressure.
Right, the saying, it's not brain surgery.
In his case, he can handle it because he knows brain surgery. I don't, obviously, but I do know something about politics, and we will be talking about this tonight. Newsmax Prime, 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific. Be looking for you then.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, JD. We'll be right back.